Hello, Randall Winston, one of the producers on the show. More trivia. Got some questions here that I am now prepared to answer. Michelle, doesn't say where Michelle is from, but Michelle asked about the free clinic bar, the bar that the doctors all go out to, and clearly with more frequency since season 3 when we built the bar ourselves here on campus. The first couple seasons we used to go out to a location. Here in the San Fernando Valley, the bar that it was has closed down. It was a small gay bar on Moore Park, but now it is called the Green Frog, and still a fairly popular hangout with the crew. So the Green Frog is its current name, and if you go there, invite us and we'll have a drink. Harry asks who messes up the most lines, and I think Donald. But Donald would probably say that part of his process is keeping the comedy fresh. I think that's how he would explain not always studying his lines as much as he should. Sometimes much to the dismay of his fellow thespians. But actually this year I think has been Donald's best year for coming in with the text prepared, as John C. McGinley would say. John C. McGinley studies the hardest and works the most at nailing exactly what he has. And he has the biggest rants. You know, he comes in having to know long strings of dialogue. I think at one point probably he and Sarah were running neck and neck for medical jargon, but he gets the biggest chunks. And Harry also is asking about, do we feel some sort of renaissance for the show, given the resurgence of single camera television after it was declared dead by NBC a few years back. Roderick from Germany sort of asked a follow-up question to that, which is about what's going on with the 6th season. Well, we don't know. We wish we knew. We think it looks very good. Thanks to you guys, the ratings have been very strong. I'm sure those emails and letters you're writing to the network are helping. But it has been amazing to see. It's amusing in some ways to see shows that are doing single camera comedy and maybe trying some of the things that we feel like we've been doing for a few years, kind of presenting it as if it's a new idea. But it is nice to see, because I think we feel like you can tell a fuller story and there's a lot more production value, and you get a lot out of it. So, vindication is, I think, a word that implies that we hate them, and we do. No, we're happy for everyone's success, just happier for our own. Andrew asks, what kind of... I'm totally kidding about happy for other people's success, by the way. Andrew asks, what kind of hours do you guys work? Well, we're budgeted for 12 work hours, 5 days a week, to produce an episode of Scrubs. That's typically typically in one long day. A lot of times it takes more than that. I don't think it's ever taken us less than that. Maybe a little bit less on a very simple show. So the simple reality is, on a Monday morning we usually have a 7 a.m. call. You take a half hour for lunch, so a 12-hour day means you work from 7 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And if you work longer than that, you have to oftentimes just allow for a certain number of hours turnaround, so your day gets incrementally later in the evening. You may start a little later, but about 13-hour days. That's, I think, the average. Crows, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but you have a question. The musically talented people on the show, is there any chance for a Scrubs musical? Well, we thought we had done Scrubs musicals. There was the Surgical Medical and I think that show ended with sort of a West Side Story beat with Dr. Cox singing to Dr. Wen out on a scaffolding. And then the song where we revived one of Colin Hayes' songs, which of course is escaping me right now. But we did it sort of in our town, isolated set, and sang in rounds. Two of the beautiful voices belong to two women who are married to writers on the show. God, I can't think of the song right now. Waiting for My Real Life to Begin. That's it. Waiting for My Real Life to Begin, which was awesome. And Neil even lent his voice to that, and it's a great scene, directed by Chris Koch, and I think he was really up against the gun. I think we shot that the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, and everyone was anxious to get out, and I think Zach ended up helicoptering to the airport that night. A question for the crew. How long does it take to... well, it says how long does it take to film an average episode, which I said we try and finish episodes in 5 days. But the follow-up is, would you like it if we had robot actors? I don't think it'd be nearly as much fun, but it would be terribly efficient. They would come out of their dressing rooms on time, or they could just be on set all the time. How many people work at the Scrubs set? Well, I think average here is probably something like 175 people. But you know, there's people at the post house who aren't here every day but work on the show every day. You know, we've got a composer and we've got people at the network, and you know, so it's 200 people, give or take. I'm just trying to make sure I'm not shining on camera. Steve from Dublin. What do executive producers do? Well, mostly babysit. That's what do executive producers do? You know, I think executive producers, and those titles sort of can run the gamut of responsibilities. In all things being equal, the executive producer on a show is typically the person who also helped create the show, and therefore is creatively responsible for the course of the show, and you know, then from there takes as much responsibility on the day-to-day things as is necessary, whether it's more on script or in editorial finishing shows or on set, you know, making sure that the show is going down the way that it is envisioned to go down. Will there ever be a Scrubs film or a new soundtrack? We're working on the new soundtrack right now. It should be out on iTunes May 18th. I believe that's the drop date. Drop dates are always Tuesdays, so I can't see my calendar from here. But we are working on it, and it's great. And I can play a sample for you off my computer of some of the songs that we're trying to put on that. There will be, I believe, another Colin Hay song, and so May 16th I think is probably the real date. And I thought there'll probably be a Josh Radin song on there, and a couple of new things, some of the stuff from the season 5 soundtrack. Great music. If you like the first one, I think you'll really like this one. And as far as a film, not currently in the works, but I think it'd be fun to do. I thought about that also. Will there be any Scrubs merchandise? There is. There's some stuff at the NBC store, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Sometimes I think our taste here at the show differs from that of marketing people. Is there any way to get autographs from the cast? Yes, but I can't tell you. I can't get one either. I think I think usually most of the things that are autographed, because these guys don't really go to autograph sessions, and we have tried to use the power of the show for good. Whether you know it or not, we have a very, very active multiple sclerosis fundraising. We have a bike team that rides here. We do auctions on eBay. We often give away signed items or auction off. I think we're going to be auctioning off a scooter that's signed by the entire cast this spring to raise money for MS. We very often offer signed scrubs and signed scripts and signed cast photos to to schools in need, or to fundraisers for various health issues. So yes, there's lots of ways to get autographed things. It's just we try and reserve that stuff to do the most good. So believe me, they sign a lot more than they would like to. Their stacks of things outside their doors every day. I also know that on the Season 3 DVD that there is going to be 100 inserts that are autographed to the entire set. It's a cast photo, and I think they're going to be placed randomly or have some sort of contest. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to get distributed, but they are out there. I just turned them in yesterday. Lars, how come you guys do so few audio commentaries for the DVD? Well, I apologize for that. We will try and do better. Pavan, what's the status? I mean, and also, quite honestly, with audio commentaries, in the first two DVDs, sometimes the timeline was so compressed from the time that cast and crew were around, because while we are together for several months of the year, we're not together all the time. There's a 3-month gap, and suddenly packaging needs to have something done yesterday. Not unlike the inserts I was just talking about. They sometimes get put together pretty swiftly, and we just don't have the people around or the production time to spare if we're under the gun to get the show on the air to also do some of the extras we'd like to. What's the status of the work outside of Scrubs? Oh, yes, there were a couple of shows in development last year. Bill and I did 2 pilots, one for Fox and one for NBC. One was called Nobody's Watching. I don't know if there's any bootleg copies out there somewhere, but it is a good show, very funny show about 2 kids from Ohio who get an opportunity to do a reality show about making a show. So they're forced to live on a soundstage on the back lot, and it was very, very funny, written by Bill and Garrett Donovan and Neil Goldman, a writing team that obviously are all writers on the show. And the other show was written by Bill and Eric Weinberg, and it was called Confessions of a Dog, which was a show about a guy who was coming into his own. He was a womanizer, and then self-recognized that he was a womanizer, and wanting to reconcile that and not be so much that guy. He was growing up. But how they got on the air. Right now there's a show called Alpha Mom that Bill will be directing March 20th through the 29th, and we'll see what the fate of that is. Hopefully there's something else that can come into the fold, or spawn other things. And there's a couple of other scripts that I guess I don't want to jinx, that I think might be coming down the pike from Tim Hobart, who's one of the writers here. So there's always something we're trying to do, but we don't have our own network yet, which seems to be the thing standing between us. Anyway, those are the trivia questions that I have for you today. Keep watching. Thanks very much.